Okay, so you want to know if betting on Intel right now is like trying to catch a falling knife or what? Like,
Right.
is there any chance they could actually pull off this comeback everybody's talking about?
Well, you sent over this article from the Motley Fool called Is Intel Back? 3 Reasons to Take Intel's Turnaround Seriously. And let's just say 2024 has been a real roller coaster for them.
Yeah.
Getting kicked out of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, replaced by NVIDIA? Ouch.
Yeah, it's definitely been a humbling year for the company that basically invented the microprocessor. Stock price is down, what, more than 50%. There's just this feeling out there that they've lost their edge in innovation.
Yeah. Seems like all anyone cares about these days is AI chips. And that's NVIDIA's territory, right? But hold on, this Motley Fool article throws in a twist. Intel actually had a pretty good third quarter. Beat expectations on revenue and profit.
That's right, 13.3 billion in revenue, blew past the 3 billion analysts were expecting. It's a pretty big change from all the doom and gloom we've been hearing.
So maybe not a dead cat bounce after all. But what's driving this sudden burst of energy? It's interesting. Some of their newer products, like the chips they're designing for notebooks, those are actually being manufactured by their competitor TSMC.
Wait, they're outsourcing to their rival. That's wild.
It might seem counterintuitive, but it's actually a really smart move. It gives them access to TSMC's cutting-edge manufacturing, while they're focusing on perfecting their own next-generation technology. Which brings us to the 18A node.
This 18A thing keeps coming up. What's the big deal with it?
Think of a node as how densely you can pack transistors onto a chip. Small a is better, right? With 18A Intel shooting for a massive jump in transistor density, power efficiency, and performance, they're saying it'll even be better than TSMC's current capabilities. And get this, they've already got Amazon signed on as a customer.
Whoa, Amazon, the kings of cloud computing. That's not just a vote of confidence, that's a full-on endorsement. What does that tell us about where things are going? Not just for Intel, but for the whole tech world.
It's a huge sign that Intel's 18A node could be a total game changer in the cloud computing space. Amazon wouldn't partner with them, especially not on custom Xeon processors for AWS, if they didn't think this technology had the potential to completely shake things up.
Okay, so we've got surprising Q3 numbers, a bold move to outsource to TSMC, and now this Amazon bombshell. Is it too early to say Intel's back?
Well, there's more to the story. We've also got this op-ed from a former Intel CEO, Craig Barrett. He was in charge during their golden age, and he actually praises the current CEO's strategy. He seems pretty optimistic about Intel's future.
Having a legend like Barrett on their side definitely adds some weight to this comeback narrative. But just to play devil's advocate, let's talk about their Gaudi 3 accelerator chip. According to this article, it hasn't exactly set the world on fire.
True, the Gaudi 3. It's designed for AI applications, and it's run into some hurdles. Seems like there's a pretty steep learning curve with the new software,
Yeah.
and that's slowed down adoption.
So even with all this positive momentum, there are still some bumps in the road, especially in the AI space, which is what everyone's saying is the future.
Exactly. Intel's turnaround isn't a done deal. There are definitely challenges they have to overcome, especially in a field as competitive as AI. The Gaudi 3 situation just shows that they can't afford to stumble in these key growth areas.
This Gaudi 3 thing is interesting. It's designed specifically to speed up AI and machine learning tasks, right?
Absolutely. These chips are all about handling huge data sets and complex algorithms, which are basically essential for everything these days, from self-driving cars to personalized medicine.
So why isn't the Gaudi 3 taking off? Is it just the software learning curve, or is there something more? Is Intel falling behind in the AI arms race?
Well, it's a complicated issue. The software is definitely a factor. But we also have to consider the competition. Companies like NVIDIA and Google are already the leaders in AI hardware and software.
Right. NVIDIA's been killing it in AI. So how does Intel close that gap? What's their strategy for competing with these giants?
Well, they're not giving up. They're investing a lot in research and development, focusing on things like neuromorphic computing, which is basically trying to mimic the human brain. They're also looking at new chip architectures and partnerships, trying to find an edge.
So they're not putting all their chips in the 18A basket. It sounds like they're hedging their bets a little, exploring other options in the AI space.
Right. It's a smart move in a field that's changing so fast.
Right.
But let's get up back to 18A for a second. If Intel can really deliver on what they're promising with this node, it's not just about faster laptops or more powerful servers. This could completely reshape entire industries.
Okay, now you've got me really interested. Paint me a picture. What could this 18A powered future look like?
Imagine a world where scientific breakthroughs are happening super fast because researchers have access to these incredibly powerful computing resources. Or think about personalized medicine becoming the norm. AI algorithms could analyze your DNA and predict health risks with incredible accuracy. And imagine smart cities that are constantly optimizing traffic flow, energy consumption, public safety, all in real time.
Okay, so we're talking about a future that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie.
It's closer than you think. And Intel, with their ambition to be the top dog in tech, again, through 18A, they could be the ones leading the way in making this future a reality. But it's not just about technology. It's about economic power and global influence.
So there's a geopolitical angle to all of this, too. What are the implications if Intel does get back on top, especially in a world that's so reliant on semiconductors?
It's fascinating because semiconductors are basically the foundation of everything digital. Whoever controls this technology has a ton of power and influence on the world stage. If Intel gets back to being number one, it could really shift things in the tech industry, and that could have huge effects on the global economy and even national security.
This is getting really interesting. So it's not just about Intel versus NVIDIA anymore. We're talking about countries fighting for technological dominance, almost like a modern-day space race.
Exactly. And the stakes are really high. Whoever controls the most advanced semiconductor technology has a huge advantage in everything from AI and military tech to just being competitive economically.
So for someone listening who's trying to decide if they should buy Intel stock, it sounds like there's a lot more to consider than just their earnings reports.
Absolutely. Investing in Intel right now is like betting on the future. It depends on their ability to actually do what they're saying they'll do, to deliver on this game-changing potential of the 18A node. It's high risk, high reward, and it could have global consequences.
So you're saying it's not just about whether they can make a comeback, it's about what kind of impact that comeback will have on the entire world.
Right. It's about understanding the bigger picture, the forces at play, and how Intel's success or failure could create a ripple effect.
So where does that leave us? You've given us a lot to think about, from the details of nodes and chips to this geopolitical chess match in the tech world.
Yeah, what we've done is connected the dots between Intel trying to turn things around and the bigger picture of how technology is advancing, the fight for economic power, and how all this affects global influence. It's a complicated and fascinating story, and it's still being written.
What I'm hearing is that Intel's fate is connected to the future of technology itself. Whether they succeed or fail could have a huge impact on the world for years to come.
That's a great way to put it. It reminds us that even something like a microchip can have a big impact on our lives and how history unfolds.
Absolutely. It shows the power of innovation and this constant push to go beyond what we think is possible.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, what do you think about Intel moving toward neuromorphic computing? That's a whole other level of disruption.
You're right. We haven't even talked about that yet. Trying to make a chip that works like the human brain. That's mind-blowing. What could we even do with that technology? And could it change things even more?
Yeah, it feels like we're right on the edge of something huge. Like, if Intel can actually figure out this neuromorphic computing thing, it could change the world in ways we can't even imagine.
It's like opening up this whole new world of computing. Chips that learn and adapt like our brains. Solving problems in ways we haven't even thought of. The possibilities are insane.
We're talking about everything, right? AI assistants that know what we need before we even ask, breakthroughs in medicine, new drugs. It's almost too much to take in.
It shows how Intel's playing the long game. They're not just worried about making money next quarter. They're trying to shape the future of technology.
Okay, so for our listener out there, trying to figure all this out, what's the bottom line? Should they buy Intel stock because of this whole neuromorphic revolution thing?
That's where it gets tough. Neuromorphic computing is still pretty new. No guarantee Intel will be the one to make it mainstream. It's a big gamble. So maybe not time to go all in just yet, but definitely something to keep an eye on.
Exactly. Watch their research partnerships, what patents they're filing, any announcements about how they're actually using this technology. That's how we'll know if it's moving from the lab to the real world.
It's crazy to think. We started wondering if Intel could even survive, and now we're talking about them leading us into this whole new era of computing. What a turnaround.
It shows how resilient they are, how willing they are to change and innovate. And don't forget the human side of things. Pat Gelsinger, coming in as CEO, seems to have given them new life. Like they believe they can be the big dogs in tech again.
The classic comeback story, the underdog fighting their way back to the top. Everyone loves a good comeback story.
And this one's not over yet. The next few years will be crucial for Intel. Can they make 18A work? Will they crack the code on neuromorphic computing? Will they be the undisputed leader in tech again? I'll have to wait and see.
Well, we'll be watching for sure. And for everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Intel, a world that's way more complicated and interesting than just chips and circuits.
It's been great exploring these ideas with you.
And remember, the future of technology is being written right now. Stay curious, stay informed. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one to write the next chapter.